Hey guys, welcome back to InSTEM. I'm so delighted to bring you the first interview of 2024. For those of you who are new here, my name is Tolu. I'm the creator of InSTEM, a platform dedicated to empowering young professionals and students to becoming well-rounded and fulfilled individuals. I accomplished this mission through bringing the stories of amazing individuals who are making a real difference in the STEM space, as well as through mentorship and thought leadership. We have lots of amazing content planned for this year, so I hope you will stick around for a long time. So today, my guest is Sam Elegbede. Sam Elegbede is an award-winning electronic and electrical engineer. At just 25, Sam achieved a remarkable feat of becoming chartered, making him one of the youngest people in the country to do so. In today's interview, we're going to be chatting about his electrifying engineering journey. We're going to be also discussing making career pivots, some of the most interesting projects he's worked on, and maximizing one's potential. Without any further ado, welcome on board, Sam.
Thank you for having me. That was a big introduction.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm really excited to kick this off with you because I feel like this is a new chapter for InSTEM in the, for the past few years, we've recorded virtually and now we're bringing it into in-person. So I'm really excited about that. And it's just really special to have someone like you kick this off with us. So first things first with InSTEM, we would normally start with an icebreaker question to ease you into the interview process. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Although I admitted, I think your icebreaker question is a bit of a serious question, but I know you'll handle it well anyway.
Let's go.
So, what is the greatest misconception about engineering and how do you address it?
That's a good question. I think when you often think about other professions, you always see people with a high level of verbal confidence. When you think about a lawyer tends to deliver words in an eloquent manner.
Yeah.
You think about a doctor, even though it's a good or bad news, they deliver it in an eloquent manner as well. But with engineering, there's this stereotype that you're quite robotic. You know, you're quite sort of like no personality, which is quite a sad thing. And movies doesn't help because when you often think about movies that you've watched, when you see a software engineer, what you think about is a person in a room, in a cubicle, pizzas all over the room, in a rock and roll t-shirt, that doesn't deliver well. So I think engineers do have personality, is the message.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you think of shows like The Big Bang Theory, which is like one of the biggest shows ever, and you think of the characters depicted there, it's no surprise that people will make that assumption that, engineers have no personality. But yeah, no, that's a great reflection on it. So I'm going to do a quick intro of your academic and career journey, and then I'll hand it back over to you to just expand on. So you studied electronic and electrical engineering from the University of Leeds. And then when you graduated, you worked for a leading engineering consulting firm. Then you moved into real estate, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later. And now you currently work for probably arguably the biggest technology and computing company in the world. So yeah, tell us about your career journey.
So I'll take you a little bit back. I always believe we're influenced by things we see around us. My dad was a chartered water scientist. My mom was a literature teacher. So I grew up in a mixture of both science and creativity. My dad was really into electronics. As far as I remember, we used to go to car booth sales in the morning and buy electronics and then resell on eBay. And sometimes you buy TVs that wouldn't work and you'd have to buy parts that do work on eBay and then put two and two together and then make it function. So I think the interest from engineering developed from that, from doing those stuff and having hands-on experience growing up. That then led me to study electronic and electrical engineering from the University of Leeds, where I did my master's there. It was an integrated master's. I was then fortunate enough to join a consulting firm, WSP, where I was there for just over 5 years. And then I decided to sort of add variety into my career path and then join a startup company, WeWork. And I currently work for Microsoft, doing similar stuff as well, which is a data center telecoms engineer designing infrastructure projects.
Very interesting. I love the word variety used because I think usually with engineers, it's either you grow in depth, in technical depth, or you grow your breadth. And it seems to me like with the, move into real estate and now technology, you've really extended, the kind of the skill set
Horizons.
and the
Yeah.
horizons, which is interesting. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So in summary, your childhood influences were the reasons, were the steps that led you into
Yes.
electrical and electronical engineering. Awesome. So you've worked in many exciting industries, including transportation, telecommunications, real estate, and probably more that, I haven't added to this list.
Yeah.
I'm interested to learn what has been the most exciting project you've worked on and what's the story behind that project?
I think different industry comes with different experiences. I remember during my time with a consulting firm, we worked on a project led by engineers in Colombia. Most of the teams were heavily Spanish speaking, as you would expect. And there wasn't a project manager that spoke English. So it was basically working with different cultures and different different languages, and me being in a meeting and going on Google Translate to understand, what was going on. So that was a pretty interesting project because it was the first metro line in Colombia, and I was privileged to work on that. Now, going to my next company, which was more of a membership company, it's a fast-paced environment where it's about customer satisfaction.
Right.
So making sure the technology and requirements needed by the customers is being attended to. So that was quite fast-paced in the way we operated, and it develops resilience. Now in the current role I'm in with my current company, it's more of a quality assurance role. So every little detail as part of the design matters, because if you don't attend to these things, it does come back to affect you in the future with a big cost, obviously. So every sort of role itself has different sort of experiences to it, So it's just taking each day at a time and just experiencing this sort of situations that come up every day.
Awesome. Sounds very interesting indeed. And just highlights one of the things that I really love about engineering is the exposure that you get. So you mentioned you started off, in a sort of project management role, right? And then you moved on to sales. You talked about customer satisfaction, and now you're talking quality assurance. I don't know many careers that can give you such breadth of exposure and experiences. So that's very interesting. So when you started out in industry, you actually got into a graduate scheme at your first company. And I know that graduate schemes can be very highly sought after with, university students looking to start out in industry. So have you got any tips and insights for young aspiring, graduates or young professionals who want to go into the same route?
I think that one of the biggest mistake and the misconception people often have about grad job is you need to finish university and get given a certification to start applying.
Right.
Luckily for me, I was hanging around with people that were not engineers. They were studying law, economics and stuff like that. So, and they did a 3-year course as well. So they were talking about a grad scheme from second year. And I was like, what is this grad scheme? So I remember in my final year, I went to the university. We are at University of Leeds. We had like a career center where they checked my CV and they were like, you could start applying it by September. So I was like, what, September? So I started applying for grad jobs in September. I remember WSP called me for an interview by November. By December, I had my grad scheme contract. So right in my January exam, I already had the job, literally. I was just waiting to finish. So I think the key thing is start early. You do not need to finish university and get a certification to get a job. You could start applying early, and the earlier the better. Yep. The earlier you start, the more. I was speaking to a person that's currently in the final year now, and he's going through application processes and career centers. So I think definitely apply early is the message. You don't need to leave it till the last minute, because the problem is when you leave it till June, the next grad scheme opens again in September.
So you've got to wait.
You've got to wait. Yeah. So the message is apply early and start early.
Awesome. And I think that's really great advice. I think sometimes, it's easy to think that you need to get everything done. You need to get your grade, absolutely confirmed as well, but you can put yourself in the process early. And I think the best opportunities also open their applications early. So if you want the best of the best, do it early. Have you got any tips on how to stand out in those processes? Because I know that often tens of thousands of students are competing with you. So how do you make yourself, known in the process, and how do you prove to the people interviewing you that you can do a good job?
I think the first thing I would say is utilize your university's career center. They're fantastic. It's easy. People literally get paid to be honest, they are getting paid to offer that service. So utilize your company's career center. I think that the next part I would say is not everyone will be able to get an internship. But what I did after a while was I basically volunteered in an engineering charity that were doing engineering designs. So you could do that as well. You don't have to get paid, offer your time, because time at the end of the day is money. So it's offering your time and utilizing it wisely. If you keep on applying and you feel like you're not getting anything, and internships are normally between June to September. So sometimes you can keep on applying and not get anything by August. And remember, a lot of these companies are taking people for 3 months. So, and you go back to university by September, they wouldn't give you something for a month because you wouldn't learn anything. So see if you could get offer your free services to voluntary groups that do engineering designs and construction. So I would definitely say those two.
I think it's really good advice, because I think these days most companies, no matter who you are, regardless of whether you're just starting out in industry, they want some sort of experience, right? So one way in which you can, I guess, gain an edge is through, volunteering and offering your time and gaining some experience. Another thing that I would like to add to that, based on my experience, is, apply for a placement if you can in between. I think I did mine between my third and fourth year. I know some courses offer the opportunity of second and third year. That really gives you another advantage to beat the other candidates, I guess. So reflecting on your early career, you gained a lot of attraction due to your potential. You were someone that won lots of awards. I've already mentioned one of them at the beginning, one of your significant recognitions at the beginning. And to me, that would suggest that from very early on, you very much knew what you wanted to do. You had a clear career path. Is this a fair assumption, or have you navigated moments of doubt and uncertainty, which is usually not unusual for young graduates or even people who are more advanced in their careers?
That's a fantastic question. I think doubts are normal. Else I'll be an AI. I'll be a robot, really. I think there's no school for it. You have to basically pick up the information as you grow. To emphasize on the topic around ambition, I think I've had to sort of readjust things. Initially, when I kicked off in the industry, my plan was to be a CEO within the first 10 years of my career. But then I started realizing that ambition is it could become a part of your natural instinct. And it doesn't have to be like a pyramid where you aim straight to the top of the pyramid. You could do it by a daily task. So for example, on a project, the ambition could be delivering the project while maximizing your technical skills. So it's basically setting, like, I don't know if you're familiar with a book called Atomic Habits.
You recommended it to me.
It talks about, rather than seeing the end goal, which is the CEO at that time, what I was thinking of, it's looking at little goals, little sort of habits you could do during your day-to-day. So talking about me maneuvering different industries, the key thing is I always see a well-rounded professional as somebody that has a good technical skills, good account management skills, so account management, a little bit of technical sales as well, a little bit of project management, and sort of developing yourself in this sort of, on a day-to-day basis using projects. So I believe ambition, it could become part of your natural instincts. It doesn't have to be something that, you're looking forward to in the future. It could be part of your day-to-day routine. So it's a fairly assumption that I'm still sort of key on what I'm trying to achieve as a person.
But you have a different perspective, and that really resonates with me in the, breaking it down and making it focusing more on the journey as opposed to the end goal. Is a lot more sustainable, and I actually think you'll find that you'll enjoy the process a bit more. So that's very interesting. That's an amazing answer. We're going to shift gears a little now, because I know that you love reading, and you've already quoted a book already in one of your answers. So I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite book? And in that favorite book of yours, what has been your biggest lesson, or the biggest lesson that's changed your mindset and left a lasting impact on your career?
Two books that resonate with me well. is a book called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and another book called Sapiens. I think with Shoe Dog, really, it starts about how Nike was founded, and it talks about the life cycle of thinking about an idea on a sofa, and then me wearing a Nike shoe in 2024. So I think it talks about the reality of being an entrepreneur, because it's often fantasized. People love the idea of stuff, but not the reality.
Right.
You know, it's like you starting a product and no one buying it for the first 10 years, are you still going to carry on doing it?
Right.
So I think that the key message from the book is resilience, and how to sort of take on every lesson that's been provided to you. And, you know, feedback is essential, like constant feedback, you know. Sometimes, and I think, like I was saying to you the other day, when we often think about compound interest, we think about money. But you can actually compound interest as skill as well. So it's like continuously working on something, you know, you might feel like you're not getting anywhere with it, but on a daily basis, you know, those little efforts of waking up early, you know, doing, you know, going, there's this narrative also that we often discuss about people going, I shut my laptop down at 5:30. But if you want to get better, sometimes you might have to shut your laptop down at 6, 7, or even 8 o'clock to get better. So it's all about that little efforts, you know, into making yourself a better person for the future.
That's interesting. That's not a book I've read, but
Yeah.
definitely will pick it up at some points, because some of the books you've recommended to me have now become my favorite books. So
I'm glad I'm of use.
so the key message is resilience,
Yes.
which is very much needed in this engineering landscape. I say to people, engineering is an exciting, you know, industry, but it can be daunting, right? And you won't always get things right the first time, but you've just got to be open to the feedback that you mentioned and be determined to improve, right? So yeah, that's a great answer. We are now moving on to the final question. And given that you've spent a number of years in industry now and knowing what you know now, what would you say to 21-year-old Sam just starting out in industry?
I would say two things: application and navigation. I think one of the biggest issue we're facing right now is lack of mastery. I believe you have to learn the craft. And I'm a big advocate of using platforms such as LinkedIn and Instagram to self-promote yourself and, you know, show people what you get up to. But sometimes you could get lost in the marketing and not knowing the job. And what then tends to happen is when your line manager calls you to a room and goes, you're not delivering, your ego gets in the way and you're not able to take the feedback well, because the old world knows you're this fantastic engineer that does great things, which you do, but it's also important to basically learn the job. And the second part about the navigation is learning, knowing what you want. I always use an example. It's like if I was to go to Egypt in June, where the degree is like, where the temperature is like 30 degrees, I'm not going to take a trench coat with me. You know, I'm going to take a linen shirt. People that know me know I like a straw hat as well. And some chinos. So it's knowing where you're going and knowing what you need to get there. Also, there's this idea of just getting every certification under the earth. I think it's important for you to know. I do this thing where I go on LinkedIn and I see people that are where I want to go. And I try to study the pattern. You know, knowing what they did, you know, what kind of skill. We emphasize on the art of diversifying your knowledge earlier about, you know, having account management skills, having a technical skills. Oh, that person did project management there, or they did a little bit of sales. You know, just knowing what is required to get to the place you're going. So I think understanding and knowing where you want to go is important, because most graduates often make the mistake when you get into a job that your line manager is there to define your career for you. I think that's a thing that's going to shock you, because your line manager is there to guide you once you tell them what you're trying to achieve. It's not their responsibility to shape your career for you. So I think it's understanding what you need to do and where you want to, understanding where you want to go and learning to navigate that is a key thing you need to understand. So application, learn the job and master the job, and navigation, knowing how to get there.
Excellent. What a great, reflection on that. On the point about learning how to do your job, I was listening to an interview with Barack Obama recently, and that was his advice to young people: just know how to get stuff done. And I totally agree about, the ability and the potential to get lost in the attention that you get, you know, in the work that you do that's promoted online. But what should always predicate that is actually being really good at your day-to-day job, because that is what your colleagues, your managers at work will expect of you.
Most definitely.
And the other thing I took away was knowing where you're going.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy to get caught up in what's popular. You might think getting a PM certification is what you should do because everyone else is doing it, but is it actually relevant to where you're going? So yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I've taken a lot away from this, and I can imagine anyone who watches this video will also get a lot out of it. I look forward to having you back, and thank you for watching. Hope to see you at the next interview.
Thanks, everyone.